Hey, what's up, guys? This is your boy coming at you again, straightforward and direct, with another one like the other one, but just a little bit different. So, subject matter right now is pretty cool, but nonetheless, an important subject matter, something that I felt like talking about. Um, how do you guys feel about, you know, being a designated driver and the whole purpose that a designated driver serves, right? So, you know, the designated driver serves a very important purpose because your designated driver is the person that you're relying on to get you from point A to point B. And the reason why they're the designated driver is because at the time you're under the influence, you're not sober. Okay. And being the fact that you're not under the influence, being the fact that you're under the influence, this means that your eye hand coordination is impaired. This means that your ability to see things clearly is impaired. This also means that your judgment is impaired. And so when you're on these roads, accidents happen all the time because people are not paying attention to things that's going on around them because they're messaging, because they're driving while they're under the influence, or they're under the influence of emotions. So before I go any further, let's speak about this thing called sober, right? And when I mean, what does it mean to be sober, and what does it mean to be under the influence? Okay, so when you're completely sober, this means you're not under the influence of nothing. Okay, when you're completely sober, it means you're not under the influence of nothing. Now, there's things that you can be under the influence of. You could be under the influence of drugs, alcohol, right? Those are the common things when you think of someone being under the influence, you think of them being under the influence of an alcohol or drug. But that's not the only thing that you can be under the influence of. You can be under the influence of your own thoughts. You can be under the influence of your own emotions. You can be under the influence of someone's bad advice. You could be under the influence of conditions and circumstances that influence you to act a certain way. So this whole being sober thing goes deeper than just alcohol and drugs, right? So if you're not in the right state of mind mentally because you're going through something, you're under the influence. At that moment in time, you might need a designated driver, someone who's sober, someone who is not under the influence, who's mentally sound and in a position to be alert and pay attention to what's going on, right? So that he can get you from point A to point B. Look, guys, this whole designated driver thing, it just doesn't apply to the roads, the highways and byways of our society. This whole designated driver thing, it applies to life, okay? It applies to life because there's so many things that you can be under the influence that can impair your judgment and impair your ability not only to be alert and aware of what's going on around you, right, but to also make sound-minded decisions. So a designated driver is someone that you can rely on that's sober-minded, that's completely sober, right, and they can get you from where you're at in the location that you're trying to get to. So do you know anybody who's completely sober? Just because you don't drink and use drugs doesn't mean that you're sober, right? Right? If you have a temper problem at that moment in time while you're mad, you're not sober. You're under the influence of your own anger. Are you in a position to make, good decisions, right? Uh if you're not the type to make your own decisions and you rely heavily on someone else, at that time you're under their influence and you're not sober, you're under their influence, right? Something to think about. Okay. So, what does it really mean to be sober? What does it mean to be in a state of mind where you're not really influenced by these external things around you, right? And if that's what sober is, most people are not. Most people are influenced by some outside thing. Most people, we're living on the inside, but we're not living on the inside, right? We're living on the inside because it's our inner thoughts and the ways that we think that play a part in everything that we do. But the ones who are really living on the inside, who really have control of this, are the ones who are conscious, internally conscious, and they're not allowing these outside things to dictate their decisions and movements in life, right? They're not drifting from one point to the next. And the people who don't drift from one point or the next, they're in the best position to be a designated driver. They're in the best position to be your own designated driver. So if you set a goal, you need a designated driver. Okay. If you're trying to figure out how to get some things done, you need a designated driver. If you're not sober minded yourself and you're under the influence of so many other stuff, you need someone who's level headed, clear minded, with good judgment, who pays attention to what's going on. You want someone like that to help you get from point A to point B. That is your designated driver. So who's qualified? Who's qualified to be a designated driver? We all need them, right? So are you sober? Are you under the influence of something? These are questions that people should ask themselves. And to really grasp this understanding that being sober is not just being free from alcohol or being free from drugs. Being sober is being mentally free from any outside influence, right? And when you're mentally free from any outside influence, right? And you have completely control of the way you think and how you move, you're sober. Not only qualified to be your own designated driver, but you're also qualified to be the designated drivers of others.